They've shattered the old rules of patience and left animators racing against impossible deadlines. That's how one renowned anime director describes the new age of binge consumption, and it's only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the tremendous shifts Netflix has ignited in Japanese animation. Today, we're peeling back the layers of what might be one of the most contentious trends in the modern era of anime. How does Netflix's practice of releasing entire seasons in one shot affect the painstaking labor of animators, studios, and everyone else on the production chain? Why are some voices inside the industry calling it a mixed blessing, an efficient engine of global popularity, yet a relentless machine that could be driving them to the brink? In this deep dive, we'll explore why Netflix's binge model has stirred up so much debate. We're going to see how it contrasts with the old-school, episode-by-episode rollouts that built up tension and made fans wait, sometimes anxiously, for the next installment. We'll ask, is a schedule that enables viewers around the world to devour a fresh season in a single night, pushing animators to rush their craft, risking burnout for the sake of meeting ravenous new demands? Before we plunge into all the twists and turns, let me give you a quick roadmap. We'll start by examining how Netflix swiftly evolved from the new kid on the streaming block to one of the planet's most notable outlets for anime, overshadowing smaller outlets and even contending with industry-specific platforms like Crunchyroll. Then, we'll dig into the heart of the controversy, the mounting impatience of fans, the shifting landscape of anime distribution, and the voices of animators who argue that the very techniques we love, those explosive battles, lush backgrounds, and captivating character arcs, are at risk of becoming fleeting illusions. We'll also tackle a crucial question. If Netflix's generous budget and international reach helped catapult lesser-known titles to stardom, then why are respected professionals cautioning that something might break soon? We'll examine real anecdotes, such as critiques from industry veterans and fresh perspectives on why convenience and instantaneous gratification can sometimes overshadow careful storytelling. Finally, we'll step back and offer some perspective on how Netflix's presence has also ushered in a wave of new fans, transforming anime from a niche following to a truly global phenomenon. Is that worth the stress and deadlines that have become standard for so many studios? Let's rewind for a moment to the era when anime was a secret treasure, discovered by fans who stayed up late to watch that special block of cartoon programming on a specific channel. People who wanted more than the mainstream had to scour obscure rental stores or search the far corners of the internet for specialty sites. That was a time when anime felt like a closely guarded secret that only some enthusiasts ventured to uncover. But as the internet boomed and streaming services took hold, the entire concept of how we consume Japanese animation shifted dramatically. Suddenly, viewers who once had to wait for weekly syndicated programs gained on-demand access to entire seasons of their favorite shows. It was exhilarating. No more waiting, no more half-tune broadcasts skipping episodes here and there. Netflix emerged as a first mover with the capital and licensing muscle to secure major anime titles. Overnight, it felt like the anime gate had been thrown wide open for anyone willing to click play. Of course, a crucial question arises. Does Netflix's success in corralling so many anime titles represent an unstoppable wave of progress? Or has it inadvertently disrupted a system that was precariously balanced to begin with? For a while, industry insiders were thrilled that a behemoth with deep pockets was boosting the anime world. More money, more brand exposure, and more talent could mean more risk-taking and less dependence on older distribution tactics. After all, Netflix's budget could fund entire original series that might have struggled to get greenlit by more traditional gatekeepers. However, cracks in the shiny facade began to appear. The binge model, while delightful for viewers, meant that entire seasons had to be wrapped, polished, localized, and packaged all at once. Traditional anime series that aired in Japan would typically reveal a new episode each week, giving fans time to savor every cliffhanger and recap key events. Animators, voice actors, and background artists had strict but somewhat predictable production cycles. With Netflix, however, these cycles started to compress, forcing studios to deliver full story arcs almost simultaneously. Some fans, spoiled by the speed of Netflix releases, gradually became impatient with any studio that used a more traditional weekly rollout. As social media amplified their complaints, "Why isn't the full season here yet?" pressure on creators intensified. Directors and producers repeatedly mentioned that fans' expectations have outpaced the realities of the animation process. Where a single episode can require countless hours of labor, fans now demand episodes drop in clusters, adding incessant strain to an already overburdened workforce. Enter the real world of an animation studio. Visualize massive boards of sticky notes mapping out each frame of a battle scene, skilled artists meticulously drawing the minute details of a character's eyes, colorists applying multiple shading layers to animate dynamic lighting, and all of that culminating in a single 24-minute segment. Now imagine this process repeated for a dozen or more episodes, often with a fraction of the time previously allocated. It's no surprise that many animators have spoken up about exhaustion, insomnia, and a creeping fear that the creative well is being drained dry. One figure at the forefront of these concerns is Kyoko Katani, a director and artist with credits on beloved franchises. She and other respected voices highlight a harsh truth. In a culture where anything short of perfect can provoke critical comments, the pressure to excel is tremendous. Yet, with the binge model, perfect is expected to be delivered in an instant. Scenes that require more time for polish might be hurried to meet Netflix's deadlines, leaving animators torn between meeting the schedule and safeguarding the art form. It's at this juncture that we find a curious paradox. Netflix's all-in-one release structure gives watchers the freedom to enjoy a series at their own pace, which is an appealing idea in principle, but as fans get accustomed to that speed, the tolerance for pacing or delay fades away. The more Netflix invests in anime, the more the entire sphere transforms in its image. Meanwhile, directors from major titles, some of them globally adored, are looking at the horizon, worried about a time when these fast-paced demands might crush the medium they've poured their hearts into. Could the intense demand for bigger, better, and faster shows be warping anime's storytelling traditions? Each episode is not only about the visuals, but also about emotional beats and nuanced arcs. Anime has a long-standing tradition of building momentum over time, letting the drama unfold gradually. Weekly releases often become conversation pieces that fuel fan theories and discussions. But if watchers can skip ahead immediately, do we lose the communal thrill of speculation and the tension that arises from a 7-day countdown? These are the deep-seated issues swirling around Netflix's approach. And yet, we must be fair. Netflix certainly didn't invent the concept of binge-watching. People have been devouring entire seasons of any addictive show for years. The question is whether Netflix's supply of entire anime seasons on day one is accelerating a cultural shift that was already underway. Crunchyroll, which traditionally simulcasts episodes close to their Japanese air dates, at least keeps loyal fans used to the slower drip. But Netflix has built a business model around hooking viewers and encouraging them not to stop. Curiously, Netflix's enormous power as a platform also means it can champion shows that might otherwise remain obscure. Series like Cyberpunk Edgerunners soared in popularity partly because they debuted to an already established user base. Netflix can also resurrect classics like Death Note for new audiences, bridging generation gaps and letting fans from different eras share beloved titles. At the same time, let's not forget that Netflix's original anime, in some cases, show how the platform's expedited approach can backfire. Staff from certain projects have mentioned harsh schedules, limited room for creativity, or an obsession with metrics that might overshadow more nuanced artistic considerations. The net effect can be a product that, while watchable, fails to capture the deeper essence of the source material. That's what happened, for instance, with Junji Ito Maniac, an anthology based on the revered horror manga. Fans anticipated a chilling, visually groundbreaking adaptation that captured the uncanny brilliance of the original stories, yet many critics felt it fell short. Could the frantic push to drop an entire batch of episodes be partly to blame? Some animators think so. They say that with more time, each segment might have been refined into a truly haunting experience. Instead, it ended up feeling uneven, making fans question whether Netflix's approach can inadvertently sabotage the best of intentions. A moment ago, I mentioned Kyoko Kotani's concerns about the toll on workers. Let's look at that more closely, since this ties to a broader crisis in Japanese animation. Animators often work long hours for relatively modest pay, especially in the early stages of their careers. Amid higher global demand for anime, studios are constantly on the lookout for more animators. But if more prospective creators realize they're stepping into an environment pressured by binge releases and non-stop output demands, they might easily be dissuaded. Fans themselves can feed into the stress. When viewers are used to seeing entire seasons pop up with a single on-screen countdown, they begin to expect that as standard. If any production stumbles or announces a delay, the frustration on social media can be deafening. Complaints declare, "How can it take so long if they did it so fast before?" The truth is that large teams of animators and production assistants often work around the clock to meet strict deadlines, risking physical and mental health. It might be time to question whether the convenience for us viewers is worth the cost. If you're finding these behind-the-scenes revelations eye-opening, consider showing some support and giving a like or a share. It truly helps highlight the complex reality that often stays hidden behind the bright colors and epic stories. We get so captivated by the final product that we occasionally forget about the journey, and it's a tough one. Still, Netflix is not an outright villain. The streaming giant can fund bold projects, make anime accessible to people who never heard of it before, and create a legitimate space where lesser-known titles can flourish. In fact, the platform's willingness to experiment might be a net positive for certain genres that previously had little chance to see the light of day beyond Japanese channels. If a noir-themed or romance-driven anime is greenlit specifically because Netflix believes in its international potential, that's an undeniable boost to creative variety. Moreover, Netflix's global marketing push has normalized the idea that anime is for everybody, not just children or niche hobbyists. Remember a time when showing a friend a subtitled episode of Dragon Ball or Sailor Moon made them think you had an obscure pastime? Now, people from all walks of life are referencing their top anime picks. Netflix's advantage in distribution has effectively turned these once obscure cartoons into mainstream conversation pieces. The question remains, at what point does the excitement overshadow the artistry? Many insiders argue that the old weekly format fostered a sustained relationship between the show and its fans. Each new episode was a community event, often accompanied by social media chatter or real-life watch parties. Now it's easy to see a surge of hype when a new season drops, followed by a near-instant decline in buzz once everyone has finished binging. Ironically, this can mean less overall exposure time for the anime in question, even if millions watch it over a weekend. Another subtle cost is the risk that smaller studios with fewer staff resources feel obligated to keep up with the demands set by Netflix. If the biggest players adopt the binge model as a standard, smaller creators succeed only if they, too, deliver entire blocks of content without staggering the release. But these smaller outfits may not have the budgets or manpower to sustain that pace, narrowing the scope for them to break through with a quality release. Let's bring more concrete reality into focus. Imagine the meeting rooms of a mid-level animation studio tasked with delivering a Netflix anime. The executives are thrilled for the opportunity. After all, it's exposure on the largest stage, but the production timeline hits them hard. Where they once had the leeway to deliver weekly episodes to a local broadcaster, they now must finalize the entire season by a certain date. They need to secure animators, background artists, voice actors, and editors to remain on schedule. Next, they have to incorporate multiple languages for dubbing or subtitles, all while ensuring the final product meets Netflix's quality standards. In that frantic environment, how much room is left for the experimental flourish that once defined anime's charm? Series such as Neon Genesis Evangelion or Serial Experiments Lane took creative risks that might have been impossible under a rigid binge-focused timeline. Some fans worry that if Netflix's approach becomes the gold standard, certain leaps of faith in storytelling will get lost, because there simply isn't enough buffer to do anything beyond the safe, proven formula. We must also consider that Netflix is undoubtedly pushing anime into new territories globally. Shows that once had a small cult following are now being discovered by massive audiences. Before the streaming revolution, many potential fans around the world remained oblivious to iconic content that was, in some places, almost impossible to obtain legally. Netflix definitely changed that. The question, though, is whether we can strike a balance that sustains the art form and the workforce behind it. Another pivotal aspect is that Netflix's presence, while significant, operates within a larger media environment. Social media is quick to pivot from one hot topic to the next, so the hype for a newly dropped anime season might last only a week or two. This can put additional strain on studios and publishers, hoping for a steady stream of interest that translates into merchandise sales, event attendance, or spin-off opportunities. In the era of binging, a show might be overshadowed by the next big release within days. We also see that watchers themselves have become far more critical of animation quality, pacing, and dubbing choices. Anyone can pause a frame, create a digital snippet, and spread it online, praising or criticizing the slightest detail. In an environment where entire seasons are dissected overnight, the space for a production team to fix or finesse any slip is dangerously limited. In the old days, if an episode had an awkward shot, animators might get feedback and correct it in subsequent installments or a Blu-ray release. Now, binging means every imperfection is instantly judged against the entire season's worth of content. If this is starting to make you wonder how all these pieces fit into the future, you're not alone. Tension is building between tradition and innovation. Some veterans of the anime world hope that fans will rediscover the pleasure of anticipation. Others argue that the unstoppable wave of technology and viewer habits means the best approach is finding ways to adapt. Maybe there is a middle ground, some scheduling format that merges the global accessibility Netflix championed with the methodical pace that fosters sustainable, high-standard productions. If, at this point, you're thinking, yes, but I love binging anime, you're not alone. Most of us enjoy plowing through a thrilling storyline in a weekend. But with this knowledge of behind-the-scenes challenges, we can at least appreciate the time and creativity it takes to bring an anime to life. If you're passionate about these issues, feel free to subscribe for more discussions. We'll continue to shed light on the complexities of modern media, from streaming revolutions to creative labor struggles. Combine all these factors and you get a complicated portrait of Netflix's role in the industry. Some might brand Netflix a disruptor that forced studios to reimagine their workflows. Others might hail it as the single biggest champion of anime's global future. In reality, it's both, and so much more. Production committees, license holders, and broadcast executives now see new possibilities, but also new pitfalls. When we consider the cyclical nature of entertainment trends, it's worth noting that Netflix's approach might eventually evolve. We've already seen hybrid models, with certain anime dropping episodes weekly, rather than all at once, right on Netflix's own platform. Maybe there's a measured technique being tested, a sweet spot that satisfies the appetite for large content drops while preserving a sense of serialization. If this approach becomes more widespread, it might ease the production schedule's stress while still granting viewers enough room to enjoy a quick catch-up if they prefer. Still, let's not forget the underlying reality. Binging entire seasons in one night is a relatively new phenomenon that collides head-on with a medium that historically thrived on incremental progression. That's not to say one style is superior, but the synergy, or lack thereof, between tradition and innovation must not be ignored. And since Netflix is standing tall as a massive distribution channel, studios inevitably feel obliged to keep up or be left behind. Financially, Netflix's involvement helps smaller series that might never land a mainstream broadcast deal. And from the fan's standpoint, anime has never been more part of everyday culture. We see references to it in music videos, we see it in fashion collaborations, it peppers streaming charts and social media feeds in a way older generations scarcely experienced. The anime industry is a multi-billion-dollar powerhouse, and Netflix's global audience fosters that expansion. Here's where the conversation can come full circle. Is the pressure to produce entire seasons at breakneck speed simply a transitional phase while the market adjusts, or is it a permanent fixture that animators must learn to live with, possibly at the expense of quality or their own well-being? Many professionals are divided. Some are forging ahead, finding new techniques and new software solutions to handle the dramatic pace. Others are sounding an alarm, cautioning that some of the intangible magic of anime may evaporate if the daily grind is unmanageable. No single entity can be solely credited or blamed for the transformations we've seen. Our digital age, plus fans' hunger for instant gratification, has shaped all entertainment sectors. Yet anime holds a special place thanks to its intense visual craft and cultural roots. The unique brilliance of anime, spanning philosophical science fiction epics to whimsical slice-of-life comedies, craves an environment where each frame can breathe. Netflix's current approach is something like an adrenaline rush. The content arrives in a massive wave, watchers get a jolt of excitement, and then the sea is calm again until the next tsunami of releases. For fans of variety, it's a dream come true. For the workforce behind the stage, it's an unrelenting pressure to always deliver on time and maybe compromise on the final polish. Industry watchers suspect that in the upcoming years, we might see a dual-track approach. Big titles with established fan bases could continue to drop in binge-ready blocks, especially if they have robust budgets and a large team that can handle the crunch. Meanwhile, smaller or experimental productions may revert to weekly releases, harnessing the old synergy of suspense and speculation. That might offer the best of both worlds, letting fans pick whether they want the quick fix or the slower experience. The question is whether management at companies like Netflix will let that happen on any significant scale. One thing is certain, anime is no longer a fringe phenomenon. The popularization route is unstoppable, and Netflix has undeniably played a major role in that explosive growth. Many fans, new and old, appreciate how easy it is to find something that matches their mood. Maybe a comedic high school drama one day, a post-apocalyptic sci-fi thriller the next. This wide variety fosters fandom across continents and social groups. The universal accessibility, in turn, encourages more productions to expand the boundaries of storytelling than ever before. Whether Netflix's binge culture is an unstoppable wave or a transitional novelty depends partly on us, the viewers. If the audience becomes more aware of the animation process, voices might grow in support of more flexible release schedules that protect the medium's integrity. People might start praising series that opt for a slower schedule, emphasizing quality over immediate gratification. Or fans might remain addicted to the all-in-one approach, cementing the demand for more instantaneous releases. In the end, Netflix stands as a complicated figure in anime's grand narrative, both a savior that introduced anime to countless households everywhere and a driving force behind new production pressures. For better or worse, the platform's influence seems to be here to stay. Perhaps, with thoughtful adaptation, everyone can win. Animators get manageable timelines, fans keep diverse viewing options, and Netflix remains a titan bridging cultures across the globe. Thank you for joining this deep dive into the hotly debated culmination of anime's evolution in the streaming era. Consider sharing your thoughts with others who might be curious about how modern entertainment shapes what we see on our screens. After all, anime is a journey, shaped by everyone from the quiet artist hunched over a desk in Tokyo to the gleeful fan pressing play on a brand new series. Keeping that conversation going might be the best hope for preserving the heart of anime in a landscape that changes increasingly fast.